Welcome to the PPSS Success Show. My name is Fong, and today we have another very interesting guest. She is world-renowned and been exposed into so many different medias. I mean, she has well over dozens of books, screenplays, songs. She acts, she sings. I'm assuming she sings. She's also been involved with a lot of different things and is very interesting. I'm very excited to have her here. Her main goal is to really open up the hearts and the minds towards positive, peaceful, and also purposeful progress. In her works, she truly believes that if you can lose yourself in the fiction, you will find the truth in yourself. And the thing is, when it comes to her discoveries during her journey, one of the biggest discoveries that she's found is wishing. For many of us, when we wish for something, we just kind of say it casually, and we maybe hope it comes true, but we kind of deeply know, deep down inside of us, knows that it's probably not going to come true. But she's found the science behind it. She's going to be able to share with us the science behind wishing. She's able to come up with different strategies with wish-based tools for us to make our wishing more effective. She's also out there trying to help people with regards to harnessing collective energy to drive progress and also blend business logic and also with metaphysical curiosity for lasting transformation. She is the author of the book series, The Cosmic Wishes. She is involved and creator of the TV series, We Meet Again. She's also the author of The Art and Science of Wishing. So please welcome TEDx speaker, songwriter, actor, storyteller, innovator, and change catalyst, Ms. BROWNELL LANDRUM.
Hi, thank you. I feel so important all of a sudden.
You are very important because you hold the key and the secret to a lot of things that lots of people want, and that is how do dreams come true, and how do wishes come true. Now, before we get there, how did you become this expert and this person who understands how wishing works? Like, what was it? Was this something you came out of school, or you were in school? You know what? I want to tell people how to make their wishes come true.
Well, it's actually kind of I think it's an interesting story anyway. Hopefully your listeners will think so too. Is that first I would like to make it really clear, like I am not a scientist, okay? I'm a storyteller, not a scientist. And so if anybody's listening to anything I say and they're like, well, I don't agree with that science, or have you thought about this science? Please bring it on, make comments, share with me, contact me, let me know, because I'm always learning. I kind of consider myself this explorer that's always finding more information. And in fact, I started a blog because when I wrote the book, The Art and Science of Wishing, there's just so many more sciences that keep popping up every day. It's just crazy. And so I just welcome people if they have any opinions, good, bad, or indifferent. Please weigh in and tell me what you think. So the history is I was writing a novel, kind of this magical realism type of novel. And it was fun. I was writing, I don't know if you ever see the TV show, The Good Place.
Yep. Oh yeah.
You know,
One of
and
our favorite shows.
it's written kind of from the point of view of the upstairs, right?
Yeah.
Well, this was written from the point of, and I had not even seen the show, but when I started writing it, um, but I love it now. But it's from this team upstairs, and they're looking down, going, "What are these people doing on Earth? Like, how is all that working?" And I wrote it in four parts, and the fourth part, I decided I'm going to write a whole like magical world of wishes and wishing, and like where do wishes go and how are they sorted and granted and who decides what. And there's a place called like the Cosmic Wish Cafe and a comedy club and like this whole, world. So when you're writing a novel, you have to do what they call world building, right? So you have to make decisions like, okay, what is a wish and how are wishes answered? What are the responses? How is a wish different from a prayer or a goal? Like I was in this mindset, right? So my brain was turned on to answering these questions as I was writing it. And then one night I couldn't sleep. So sometimes kind of weird like this, but when I can't sleep, I listen to science lectures. And usually they're like, so over my head that they caught me out. But I was listening to one on neuroplasticity. And it was like, wow, it woke me up literally and figuratively. And I was like, wait a minute, is there science in wishing? And that led to this huge exploration of sciences. And just every time the more I researched, the more I saw these different sciences pop up. And so, like, one thing is, did you know that every time you make a wish, you engage over a dozen sciences?
That's awesome. I never knew that. I just thought, hey,
Yeah,
I wish for this. I wish for that. And then nothing
right.
happened.
But you don't realize the power that you have when you do it. especially, and so that's what led me to write The Art and Science of Wishing. And in it, I quote over 90 different scientists.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and I've got over 400 research articles in notes. I mean, like it's intense. And so that's what led to this whole exploration of what are all these sciences. And then the kind of the basic premise is how do you turn a wish into what I call a cosmic wish? And that's by applying science.
Mm.
So you can have a wish and you can throw it out there. Oh, I wish this would happen today, or I wish it wouldn't rain, or whatever. And you asked me before we started, like, is there a wish that you can't make come true? It's like, I don't know if I can control the weather. But I can actually have you, I had somebody ask me about that. It's like, yes, but I can have you be more prepared whatever happens with the weather, and you can actually embrace whatever outcome, and you can look at that. But anyway, I digress. So that's kind of the basic premises. The more you add science, the more you bring your wishes into your control, and the more you understand the sciences of it, the more, and also the more fun it is.
Well, before we jump into the sciences, you kind of alluded in that little segment there, and that is the difference between wishing, praying, goal setting, and I'm going to throw in dreams and visions.
Okay. Yeah,
How
yeah,
do you
that's good.
differentiate them?
So I like being challenged with that extra component, because I do think those, it's like if you have like a Venn diagram, like how much do they overlap, or is it just a bunch of 5 different circles that we're kind
Yeah,
of
because I
trying to
think a
make it
lot of
connect?
people kind of put them all into the same category, with maybe goals as a little bit more concrete, but like visions, dreams, wishes, and prayers sometimes just kind of get clumped together.
Yeah. Before I do you want to give a stab at it, or you want me just to
I'm
answer it?
not. That's not my area.
Okay.
So
Okay. I
I'll
just
let
thought
you.
I'd
I'll
ask.
let you jump into it.
Yeah, but whoever's listening or watching, at least they can go, well, wait a minute, let me think what that difference is. So if it's going to be the same as what Brownell says. Well, a goal, you kind of you were in the right direction, in that it is usually something in your control, right? It's like you said, concrete. It's I'm going to lose 10 pounds, or I'm going to save this much amount of money, or I'm going to go on this trip or get this degree. And it's usually something you can just go, I'm going to do this, and set up this plan, and you take the action against the plan, right? So it's usually things in your control. Of course, not life is not like everything's always in your control, but just usually that's what a goal is. And a prayer is kind of the opposite. It's when it's not in your control, right? It's when I can't do anything about this. I have to release it to whatever that power is. And I'll get into that kind of what that power is in a minute. But it's when you have no control. And a wish is this beautiful middle ground. And it's both personal and transpersonal. And what I mean by that is there are things in your control within a wish, and there are also ways to understand those things that are out of your control, to bring them into your control by applying the science to your wish. So now so that's the difference between a wish, a prayer, and a goal. Does that make sense? And then I'll address your dreams and
Yeah.
visions.
Well,
Okay.
I guess I'll have something to add to that.
Yeah.
When you go, a wish is where you kind of bring both of them together, but doesn't at some point in time that wish turns into a planned goal?
Well, I'm going to get into that in a minute.
Okay.
Okay. I just want to make sure I kind of address the definitions, and
Okay.
then I'll come and explain how you do that, right? How a wish can be a lot more powerful than a goal.
Okay. I'll let you
Okay.
address dreams and visions too then.
Yeah. Because I know you're like, but how can a wish be, and it can be a lot more powerful than a goal, I can tell you. In fact, that's one of the things in the process is how do you turn a goal into a wish? And people think, no, that's the other way. You want to do it the other way around. And I'm saying, no, I can show you and explain to you, or at least what I call a cosmic wish, right? Which is the wish with science, because you don't want to go, oh, I've got this goal. No, I'm just going to wish and just let it out float in the ethers. No, the cosmic wish is you understand the science of wishing, and you use those sciences in your favor. Okay. So, but a vision is an interesting aspect. It falls into wishes in that there is an element of visualization within the process of wishing, but there can be an element of visualization within goals, right? I mean, a lot of people include visualization in, oh, I see myself getting that diploma. I can watch myself, get that, put that diploma on my wall or whatever, or going to that school or whatever it is that their goal is. So visualization kind of and vision kind of fits into any of those. And then and you said dream was the other one?
Correct. Dreams.
Yeah, well, a dream, the only thing I kind of off the top of my head, because I've never, this is just me answering without a prepared answer, is that, I mean, obviously there are dreams like what we do at night and that kind of thing. You're not talking about that, right? You're talking
Well, like,
about,
I mean, Disney has the best quote in the world, right? Where dreams come true, right? And then I've also heard quotes where, well, dreams don't come true, visions do, right? So
oh,
there's all this
okay.
thing. And then now it sounds like, no, what trumps all those is wishes.
Wishes, cosmic wishes, yes. Wishes with science, absolutely supersedes all of those. And so a dream is generally a little more elusive as well. I mean, unless you put a plan to a dream, and I think there's probably famous quotes of like, but I think it's like it's okay to build castles in the air as long as you build foundation under them, or there's all those kind of motivational
So
quotes.
like the dream is kind of closer to prayers.
Um, Not necessarily. I mean, I think you can dream your goal happening. I think you can also, but I think it's closer. I think I might put it closer to a wish without the science,
Got
right? Without
it.
really understanding the science.
Mhm,
So that's what most people think is a wish is the same thing as a dream because it's generally not science based.
mhm.
I will say that the science of wishing is stronger than anything I think I could find in the science of dreaming.
I see. Okay, so we kind of dealt with the definitions,
Yeah,
but you've mentioned science a lot, and a lot of
I
people out there
mentioned
is
science.
okay. Show me the science. Come on. Like,
Yeah,
how do
yeah,
you
yeah.
apply science into the wishing aspect?
Yes, and I want to explain, and I'm going to answer that question as well as your earlier question in the
Mhm.
same answer, which is why is a cosmic wish stronger than a
Right.
goal, right? Um, and I'm gonna start with that part, and then I'll show you what the sciences are that kind of back this up. Is let's say you have a goal to lose 10 pounds. I'm sure you don't, but somebody listening
Be
might, and they can
surprised.
relate to that. And anyway, and so the goal is that. How is your body going to feel like about that goal? Assume your body has its own personality. How's your body going to react if you say, I'm going to lose 10 pounds?
You better do it.
Yeah, the body's going to feel like, oh, you're going to bully me. You're going to take
Um,
things away from me. It's not going to be fun. You're going to deprive me. You're going to, this is, ugh. So the body's first reaction is, ew, I don't want that. Right. In most cases.
Now that you put it that way, probably.
Right, right. And if it's let's say your goal is make $1 million or save $1 million. That's just a one and some zeros on a piece of paper. That doesn't have any real meaning. There's not much you can do that's going to motivate you emotionally, physically, psychologically, neurologically, all of the sciences. That's not much to get there, right? So instead, like I had somebody say, "Oh, I wish for $1 million," and I said, "Let's turn that into a cosmic wish." And then they started telling me what they wanted the $1 million for, right? And in their vision, they had this beautiful, incredible vision of an enterprise that was earth sustaining, um, it could make much more than $1 million, right? And so what they need is funding and support to build this business that could help a lot of people. Now your whole feeling, I mean, yeah, you can probably feel when I say that how much more everybody, all part of you is going to be excited. So you mentioned kind of my principle of one of the big things that's important is that a wish should be peaceful, positive, and purposeful. And there's science behind each of those three P's. In fact, there's several sciences, everything from psychobiology to neuroscience to, cognitive science. I mean, like all the sciences that go along with those three P's. So wishing for $1 million, that's not really peaceful, positive, or purposeful. Wishing to lose 10 pounds, Doesn't really get you there, right? But if you wish to feel good in your body and that your clothes feel comfortable and you feel healthy and vibrant and that you find an exercise that feels great and that's fun and you find foods that you really enjoy that actually are healthier and you feel good at the end of the day and you sleep better at night, that's a different kind of thing than a wishing to, goal to lose 10 pounds,
That's
right?
very true.
Does that make sense? So he could wish to find support to build this business that could really impact a lot of people with this, environmentally beneficial, sustainable kind of enterprise. Hey, that's a much more powerful wish than just to. And so anyway, so that's some of those sciences are woven into that, right? You've got the psychology. I just mentioned what I call the 3 Ps. There's also the 3 selves, right? So whether you want to use id, ego, superego from Freud or conscious, subconscious, superconscious from Jung or mind, body, spirit, some people, I mean, it's the same thing. You can use different language for the same thing that you're, and I use inner self, outer self, and higher self. Again, it's just, it's vernacular for basically the same thing. That what my first book I wrote is called 5 Reasons Why Bad Things Happen. And one of the reasons is subconscious sabotage. And that's when your body blocks you from getting something done.
Right.
So if your body is like, I'm feeling deprived, I don't like this goal of losing 10 pounds, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't want to do this work, then it's going to sabotage you. It's going to kind of sneak in that donut that you weren't paying attention or something, right? So psychology, those aspects of psychology are super important. I can add more. I thought I'd let you weigh in before I tell you more science.
Well, yeah. So for somebody who's sitting there going, okay, well, how do we implement that on a daily basis? Like, is it something that you need to constantly, let's say, listen to, repeat to yourself, mantras, like meditation, that type of stuff, or is it just like more visual stuff? How does it become something that is, how does it become a cosmic wish? Like, do I just wish differently?
Yes. To answer your question, yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. All of that you layered in. It was almost like you set me up for the next question, and and you didn't know that that's exactly where I was going. Is anthropology is a key science, right? And that's something goals and prayers don't have, right? I mean, prayer does to a certain degree, but it's something almost built into our DNA. In fact, I think there's some kind of fringe science that says maybe it is actually in our DNA. Wishing has been a part of us since the beginning of humanity, especially collective wishing, which you were kind of alluding to before, and we can get back to that. That wishing with others magnifies to an incredible degree. But that's part of who we are. So that's why wishing includes, like, whether it's blowing out candles on a birthday cake, or you see a stray eyelash or a ladybug or a dandelion, that kind of ritual repeats the wish every day. If you can come up with a ritual that helps you repeat it at least once a day, that's important. The ritual is part of what a wish is, because we think of that when we think of a wish, right? We don't think, oh, it's goal setting, it's 11:11, now I got to make my goal. But you do think it's 11:11, it's time to make my wish, right?
Right.
And so you can make up your own ritual. It could be, a standard one like the first star you see at night, or it can be when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, or it can be like there's a really interesting science, what they call the threshold ritual, which is when you walk into a doorway. So let's say you've got an office, like, I'm walking in this office, I'm going to make this wish. And that's my ritual. Every time I walk through this door, I'm going to make this wish.
That's very, very cool. Yeah.
So that, I mean, the anthropology and the ritual and the social psychology with wishing together, that's really important. And then you mentioned the process. And the 3 Ps are twofold, or two-dimensional. One is they're what you're wishing for. Like, are you wishing for something that's peaceful, positive, and purposeful? It's also how you're making the wish. Are you peaceful when you're making it? Are you being positive when you're making it? Are you purposeful? And I have an extra one that I add, is like, you make the W like for 3 as well as for the wish, right? And that you would put that on your heart while you're making your wish. And so that's when you're like anchoring that. And that adds a little of the NLP, which is, again, some people debate. Some of the sciences are fringe, some of them are emerging, and some of them are rock solid. But when you do that, then you're reminding yourself, you're getting into that state. And even if all you do is once a day, remember to be peaceful, positive, and purposeful, that can change so much.
Right.
Right. And then that repetition, what you were getting to, that's when your brain starts really getting active. So that's when the neuroscience kicks in such a cool way. So that you are triggering what's called the reticular activating system. Are you familiar with that?
No. You're
Okay.
using words that I've never even read or spoken of in my life.
You're going to love it. When you start looking into some of these sciences, you're going to go, oh, wow, this just changed my whole, you want to talk about peak success. This is it, man. This is it. This is it. Obviously, I love it, but it really, like, the more I found about it, it's like, this is such cool stuff. Is there's a part of your brain that triggers when you're asking it to solve a problem. And I know you've experienced it, even if you didn't know the term. And that is like, have you ever thought of maybe buying a certain kind of car? And then you start seeing it everywhere. Okay. You're training your brain to look for that. Right. And so when you're repeating that wish every day, you're training your brain to look for the solutions to that. And neuroplasticity research says that and it varies. Some of them say 4 weeks, some say 6. I like the 8-week research. If you repeat something for 8 weeks, you've retrained your brain in a permanent way. And so but you're also triggering that reticular activating system. So now you're going to start looking for solutions. And I'll tell you a personal story. As I was dealing with a kind of a annoying medical issue, and I went to, I mean, 9 different doctors, 14 different doctor visits, 4 different surgeries. I mean, like annoying thing. And then one day I was like, okay, wait a minute. I've got to use my own thing. I got to talk to my body, ask her what's going on, ask her to help her. And the next day I'm at the grocery and I'm looking for something completely different. And there's the answer right there on the shelf. And then the day after that, I see an ad on TV for the prescription for it. So that's really powerful. So if you're training your brain to look for those solutions, that's the reticular activating system.
And I think a lot of people out there who've achieved a lot of success or have gotten a lot of, I don't know, like accomplishments and are happy with where they are, they probably apply that type of mentality without even knowing that that's what they're doing.
That's right. I told you you'd know what it was when I told you, even if you didn't know the language for it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what's so beautiful about it is, and one of the things I love about this the most is that you can be super religious and understand it and makes sense. It fits. You can be spiritual and not religious, and you understand. You would use vision, a vision board as opposed to like whatever. And then you can be none of those and just get the science. So I could say, oh, well, my higher power showed me the answer because I asked for that guidance. Or I could say, no, my brain was trained to look for the answer.
Right.
And then I could say, well, my higher power gave me the brain that's going to find the answer. Right. It doesn't matter to me what language, right? Because that's where I think we can all come together. Because we can all agree that these things work together.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, like you mentioned, like every time you anchor it, every time you say it, every single time you say the wish, it repeats in your mind and it keeps it top of mind. All right. There's that saying like out of mind, out of sight. Well, yeah. Sorry, out of sight, out of mind. When you don't see it all the time, then you forget about it and it never comes true, or that wish is forgotten and whatnot. But if you keep on training yourself to go, okay, every time I walk through this door, I'm gonna make that wish. Every time I do this, I'm gonna make that wish. It keeps it at the top of your mind, and therefore you're tuned into that frequency. Like I work with a lot of people when I tell them, you know what, everything that you ever want is out there already. You're just not tuned into that same channel or that frequency to see it or receive it. And once you start doing that, all of a sudden it's all over the place. And you go, oh, the answer's here. Oh, there's an opportunity here. But if you don't open up that channel, it never comes. And that has to do with all this wishing. If you don't keep on doing it, you're not going to see it. You're not going to recognize it. So it's one of those things that it is very, very powerful. A very, very small little funny story I'll share with you.
Yeah.
And I was driving home one day, and I never drink Slurpees in my life. Like, it's not one of those things I urge to have, but for some reason it was a really hot day, and I'm like, man, I really, really wish there was a Slurpee I could have, and I really, really wish that I don't have to pay for it. And then as I was driving, I looked to my left, and there was a it was like free Slurpee Day promotion. I'm like, sweet, I'm stopping right there.
Oh, I love this story so
And I went
much.
back home and like, guess what I got today? I got a free Slurpee because I wished
You
for it.
also got a wish. You got a
Exactly.
yes on your wish answer.
I got a,
Uh,
I got to wish bigger things.
yeah, well, it's that I love that answer. In fact, I'll kind of circle back around that. You have no idea how powerful that was on money, so many levels that you probably haven't even thought about. And yes, and one thing that you may or may not know is that our subconscious takes in 11 million bits of information per second. Our conscious gets 50. So when you're saying it's all out there and there's all these answers, you just have to tune in. I think it's exactly right. You have to tell your subconscious what to look for and what's important so that it shows you, because you can be at the grocery store all day long and keep going to the end that never see that one thing that you need to see. Your subconscious took it all in, right? Your body was aware of all of it. So that's a pretty important statistic, right? 11 million
Exactly.
to 50.
I also find that there's a lot of people who are very reluctant to say, okay, it's gonna work because it sounds woo-woo to them, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
At the very top of the show, you said that you want to preface that you're not a scientist. However, if it works, it works.
Right.
Like lots of people are so against the fact that, oh, you're not a scientist, therefore it's not true or we can't follow it. But if the results are there, why not try it out? Like, do you have people coming up to you giving you that kind of feedback and you go, well, this is how you should approach it instead.
Yeah, there's a few different answers to that. One is I do quote 90 scientists. I did the research,
Yeah.
right? So even though I don't have the science background, I did the research. My side point to that point is even if I was a scientist, I would be a scientist in this tiny little area. I wouldn't cover 90 sciences.
Mhm.
So if I was a scientist writing a science book, I would only write it in my specialty, whatever that is. So if I write an anthropology book on wishing, it's going to be this big,
Right.
right? But I can write, a much bigger book on all of these scientists, with all these scientists. And you're right. What matters is if it works. I actually have a whole chapter in the book, Fun with Skeptics. And I now, if you're a cynic, I don't really, there's nothing you can do with a cynic. They just want to be against everything just to think that that makes them look cool. And there's nothing, I mean, you can't
Right.
do anything with a cynic. But a skeptics just want that proof. And so the answer is go test it. See if it works. Do your own research and see if this works for you or see if it resonates with you. So, and I'm like, and if you do, and like I said, if you're listening and you're like, okay, I think she's full of crap, but I might want to look at that study she's talking about. Does that make sense? Can I do my own study? Then I'm like, please,
Mhm.
let's do that.
Yeah.
So,
No, you work with a lot of people from all around the world in all different genres and ages and cultures and all that kind of stuff. What has been like the, let's say, average turnaround, like for somebody who to apply what you're teaching them and seeing results within how long? Or is it usually gonna be a nice long process?
well, it's the program is 8 weeks because that's what it takes to get neuroplasticity, right? To retrain your brain. That doesn't mean your wish can't happen the next day, right? Or that you expand on it and then you get to but once you go through the 8 weeks and learn the sciences through those 8 weeks, then everything starts happening much faster.
Hmm.
Right. So, but it does, I mean, and again, I don't know which wish, right? I mean, it can be a completely outrageous wish that could take longer. But the neuroplasticity research is 8 weeks to retrain your brain to start looking for things. There's another aspect that I talk about in my TEDx, which is supposed to come out any day. So like, but is something called the default mode network. And that's a different part of your brain than the reticular activating system. And that's the part of your brain that happens when you turn it off. And it's actually a part that kind of lights up when you turn off the prefrontal cortex and you just let your mind wander, and then all of a sudden those ideas come to you. I'm sure you probably
Right.
experienced that, right? Like I can't remember what I was going to say, and then you go take a shower and it's right there. And that's your default mode network. And so learning to recognize what that is and know how to capture that is gold. And once you train that, then you all of a sudden you're getting answers like crazy. You're just like bombarded with solutions to whatever challenge you're looking at.
Is there
So,
something that people can do on a regular basis to be more open to this sort of stuff and this sort of thinking?
well, I mean, there is a protocol. I mean, the book outlines some of the basic things. I haven't launched it yet. So if somebody's interested, they need to reach out and say, sign me up for the first class. Is an 8-week class that people can take that is guided, and it's basically 1 or 2 minutes a day to make your wish, and then the class itself gets into an hour a week for 8 weeks to go into each science. So each week goes into sciences. And it also gets into something that you were kind of alluding to, which is the responses, right? There are 4 responses to a wish: yes, no, wait, or something better. And that's really important to understand, because sometimes, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but sometimes you get a no, but you actually realize that was the best thing. Like you're glad that wish didn't happen, right? So sometimes a no isn't an ending; it's information, right, to guide you somewhere else. And there's a process I talk about called reverse optimism, that you go, oh, now I understand. I actually was being helped. I needed to either think bigger, or I call it the expansive pivot. Like you're going this direction and you're like, oh, well, wait a minute. Maybe I need to expand and pivot a little bit. Sometimes wait is, information. Like maybe you're not ready. Maybe the world's not ready. What preparation do you need to be ready? And then sometimes it's something better, and we limit ourselves. Like the
Very, very
guy
true.
wishing for $1 million, he could wish for a multi-million-dollar business if he's wishing for the business to do the things for the world that it could do.
Right. Now, something I would also like to ask, you shared a little bit about one of the wishes that you've done and how that applied and how that worked. Is
Yeah.
there one of your most favorite like success stories of your clients where that is one of the most outrageous things I've ever heard anybody wish for, but it came to fruition because we applied the right sciences, we applied the right skill sets and strategies?
Yeah, I don't necessarily have I try to think. I've because I've definitely done a lot of, because my podcast just came out like in early June, so roughly 2 months ago, and so that's where I'm helping people turn their wishes into cosmic wishes and giving them the tools. They don't always come back to me and tell me how it worked. And so I need to do a better job. Honestly, I need to wish for that. I need to wish for the responses to come back. I do know that they felt like they were transformed with understanding how they reworded their wish and looked at it. And I know, we were starting to talk about, a huge whimsical wish that would be really out there for some people, but wait a minute, there's more in your control than you realize. And so maybe it's wishing, because there's part in the book about wishing for somebody else, or wishing, when it's wishing for your team to win, wishing for your, family member to get healthy, whatever those kinds of things are. How do you navigate those things? And you realize, okay, what can I do? Like, I will tell you one that was, I won't necessarily say it was using the principle, but just opening up kind of the universe, if you want to use that term. And everything that's spiritual, by the way, there's also a scientific explanation on most of those things, right? So, if I say something that's spiritual or metaphysical, there's also an explanation going, well, this may be non-locality in terms of, quantum physics, or this may be some sort of form of entanglement, so there's, the intention experiment. There's all kinds of stuff in those realms. Some of them are fringe and some of them are pretty solid science. But it was somebody wishing for their husband and their son to have a better relationship.
Mm.
And they were pretty much estranged and hadn't seen each other for a long time. And then I'm sitting there watching. 6 weeks later, boom, I'm in the room with the husband and son, and he gets to see the granddaughter for the first time. And that happened. right?
Oh,
And when the person made the wish, they were like, oh, this, I can't make this way. I'm not, not in any control. And maybe not, but maybe just being aware of that, you realize that there is more you can do. How can I support this to happen? How can I maybe open up some doors? How can I put this out as a possibility? So there's really beautiful anecdotes. I need to do it on a more scientific basis, I'm afraid.
oh, that's awesome. I want to jump into the entrepreneurial space for a moment here.
Yeah.
I know a lot of authors. You yourself have dozens and dozens of books out there, and you have screenplays. You have other stuff that's out there. How did you make it work? Because I know a lot of people who write their books and then okay, now what? It's not getting sold. We're not making money on this. I can't make a business out of this. But you have found a way to unlock that mystery as to okay, you got your book out, we're gonna make this work, and you've created a great world for yourself. So how did you make it work?
Yeah, well, there's a few answers to that. One is that fiction is one world, right? Screenwriting is one world, which is it's nothing unless it's made into a film, right? It doesn't exist anywhere except for in your mind and on paper unless it gets made into a film. When I write a screenplay, I usually write the book version, so I have both. So there is something to market and to get out in the world. Fiction is one world, though, um, that is finding that audience and finding that niche. And the one advice I give on that is if somebody's a fiction writer is um, the publishing companies, first of all, getting traditionally published is almost slim to nil. Second of all, the maximum number of books you sell is like 3,000 or something. So there's not much money in it, and they make most of the profit, and you still do all the work. And they will tell you, unless you get those sales within those first few months, you'll never get them. And
Right.
that's just crap. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, look at Diana Gabaldon. It was over 20 years before Outlander was made into a
Mm,
TV series. So
yep.
she sold some Outlander books, but she didn't really sell Outlander books until it was made into TV. And that was, I think, over 2 decades later.
Yep.
So it takes a process to get that audience. So don't think, oh, I only made this window. You've got to keep building on it. And you need to know your niche and how to work within that. For me, this has been an interesting dynamic because this started as a fiction, right? And I published the novel that had this world of wishing. It's called A Love Story to the Universe, by the way, the book is. And then I thought I'm going to write a nonfiction, and of course, nonfiction marketing is dramatically different. And so when I did that, I thought, okay, I've got this book, The Art and Science of Wishing. I also came out with a children's book, Cosmic Wishes. So I have a book for children that's really cute. And then it was like, wait a minute, okay, then I've got something that I can do a TEDx talk on, right? This is a whole nother avenue to reach people. And it started from fiction. And I knew within that world, I had to be like I was when I started this show, which is authentically, this is who I am. Like, if you look me up, you're going to see she's written this and this and this. Like, but you understand that I'm a storyteller who got interested in science versus the other way around. And then so doing the talk is obviously, I mean, it's coming out. We'll see how, you never know until it's out in the world how it's going to do. But it also helps. But it also helped because I did and I don't want to go into too much depth unless you want me to, but I met with a PR firm and they're like, oh, we can turn you into this big name speaker. You can be the next Tony Robbins or whatever. And I realized, that's not my vibe. I like creating. I'm much more in the creating mode, and I like supporting people. And they also realized Tony Robbins isn't Tony Robbins without Tony Robbins. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's true.
He doesn't have a brand. If he's not on stage, there's not money coming in. People
Mm,
don't go to hear the people who are trained by Tony Robbins. They go to hear Tony Robbins, right? And so that's why I turned it into this Cosmic Wishes brand with my, Cosmic Wishes cards, with my Cosmic Wishes podcast, with, like all of a sudden that's a brand that lives without me and
mm,
beyond me. And that was the way to turn it into something bigger and more meaningful.
mm. I really love that journey. Like the thing that you went from fiction books to nonfiction to then screenwriting to then like now you have products and you have stuff that you can sell and you're going out there and speak. But at the very beginning there, like when it was just writing the fiction books,
Yeah.
how did you get your name out there? How did you get that niche that was able to sustain you for all those years? Or was that a quick kind of transition from one
Well,
to
so
the
I
other?
mean, my early novels didn't sell
Mhm.
because I didn't know about the tricks of marketing. And I actually worked with a friend who does know a lot of the marketing for novels, and she's sold hundreds of thousands of books, so she knows the trick. And um, if somebody writes fiction, if you first of all you should write a series if you can, right? Because if you write one, it's hard to leverage. In other words, you could do a promotion for the first book in the series and people like it, then they've got more to buy, then you've got an ecosystem,
Mhm.
right? And my most recent novel is called We Meet Again, that you mentioned, and I also wrote those as and I designed it as a TV series. So someday maybe that'll happen. Is that um, that's a trilogy, right? So that has its own ecosystem, and then but when I as I was creating it, the entire focus for me was to get on BookBub. Are you familiar with BookBub?
I've heard of it. I'm not too familiar with it though.
Yeah, if you learn about BookBub, it basically you as a consumer, just if
Mhm.
you're a reader, you can go on BookBub and BOOKBUB, and you can sign up to get their daily newsletter, and they'll send you a newsletter of books that are on deal that day, and they can be anywhere from free to 99 cents to 2.99, depending on the books. A lot of the big publishers use BookBub, so you're going to get some big name books. And if you can get all of the criteria to qualify for a BookBub promotion, um, you then everybody that signed up for that category is will get that email.
Hmm.
And in some categories, it's millions of people a day.
Wow.
Yeah. So in my category, I submitted a BookBub. I did all the things. You have to have a certain number of reviews. You have to, like there's certain things that you have to have before, and they don't tell you those rules, but you kind of learn them. And then so I did my first BookBub promotion, and I got 7,000 downloads of the
Oh
first book.
wow. Very,
Yeah,
very cool.
yeah. So and then I was able to rerun it 6 months later. So that is if for fiction, if you first of all try to do it as because you want to be able to have them go, I want the next one in that series, even if you have other books, because if you're giving a book away or you're giving it for 99 cents, there's not a lot of profit in it, but there is if you're building a brand, you're building followers, you're building either you have other stuff to sell or other books to sell.
Mhm. Very nice. Now, then moving on to your speaking stuff.
Yeah,
You mentioned yourself, you're a creator.
yeah,
You're a person who likes to come up with different things. You come up with different worlds, and usually those people don't like coming out into the open and speaking and being the face of the brand and all that kind of stuff, which you already mentioned about Tony Robbins. Now,
right.
for you, was the transition to becoming a speaker and now podcasting and all this other stuff, which requires you to be front and center. Was that transition easy?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with, I mean, obviously I'm having fun being on your show, right? So I don't have any problem being front facing. I just don't want it to be about me. Like
Mm,
it's about what I'm sharing. It's not about who Brownell is. So I understand that that kind of goes with it, but it's not like when I did my application for TED, if anybody's listening and wants to give a TED or TEDx talk, it was, there's some people say, here's your formula. Oh, it's your story, what you went through, what you learned, and how other people can learn from that. And my experience is that's the opposite of what you want to pitch. Um, it's because first of all, everybody's pitching that. So
yeah.
how are you going to be different? And, oh, my sob story is more than yours. Like and it wasn't my vibe, right?
Mm,
So my talk starts right out and says, imagine you're blowing out candles on a birthday cake, or
yeah.
you see a shooting star. What are you wishing for? And so it's taking the listener through a journey about applying sciences to their wish. There's a little part saying, well, how did this person get to be this expert, right? So I can put some context, but it's not about me.
Mm,
So if you're doing a TEDx talk, the more you can make it about the audience and what they're experiencing, the more powerful it'll be and the easier it'll be to distinguish yourself among hundreds and hundreds of applications for every event.
Mhm. And I like that that you mentioned that because so many people want to stick with the rules, right? Oh, they say to do this, or they say to that, I have to stick with that. And sometimes it's like, you know what? You can't always stick to it because then you don't stand out. And what you've
Right.
done is you stood out. The topics and the stuff that you're talking about right now is something that resonates to a lot of people that piques interest. They want to know, hey, how do I make my wishes come true?
It's
And all
about
that kind of
them. It's not
stuff.
about me. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
that is
And
very, very
in fact,
cool stuff.
when they did the interviews, they had hundreds of applications, so they culled it down to 70, and they did a Zoom interview. And I just said, let me just tell you right now, I'm not following that formula. And they were like, thank God. I mean, they were seriously like, it was so great. Their response was they were so happy it wasn't this formula that everybody has.
But why did they even put that up there then? It makes
I
no
honestly,
sense.
there are companies out there training you to do something that what I would say is everything not to do. They're
Mhm.
saying, oh, use AI to write your application. No, that doesn't sound very personal, right?
Right.
You have to think about it from their point of view. What are they looking for? They want to know you can deliver. They want a great talk and they want it to stand out. You know.
Mm.
Now again, it's nerve-wracking because it's coming out any day. You never know exactly how you did. You grade yourself on a higher curve than other people might. So and it's a one-time thing. Like I love doing public speaking. I used to be on the speech team in high school. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. But doing a TED thing is a whole different thing because you have to memorize every word, and that's hard.
That's true.
Yeah.
My one of my last few questions here is what's the next big thing for you? What are you looking for? Like if there is there somebody that you're a type of clientele you're looking for? Is there a type of opportunity you're looking for? What is the next big thing that you're working on?
Yeah, and I think you're really gonna love this. I'm actually writing The Art and Science of Wishing at Work. And so that's one for companies and businesses. And it's mainly targeted to companies going through some sort of big transformation, whether
Mm.
it's a product launch, reorganization, merger, acquisition. And you're like, what does that have to do with wishing? And of course, my answer is going to be a lot. But it really is. And so I've been working on really targeting those groups and helping them understand, the leaders of those companies understand, as you probably know, a huge percent of these kinds of initiatives fail depending on how you measure the results. But the statistics are against you in success generally, and how the answers to that can be as easy as, like I talked about, the 10 pounds. I mean, it be understanding how do you do that. And I'm building this whole ecosystem that is, yes, me doing the keynote that's similar to my TEDx, and also doing workshops. And actually, it's not just, oh, here's a lesson, but here's the way to follow it up. So I have trackers for your default mode network and your reticular activating system. And I got these little systems that where people can track their wishes and keep track of their peaceful, positive, and purposeful. So there's all kinds of fun to keep it going for those 8 weeks so that you really get the transformation. So that's a lot of fun. That's what I'm this close to launching.
Very, very exciting stuff. When you first said that the art and science of wishing at work, the first thing I thought was most people are probably wishing they're not there. I wish I'm
Well,
not
I mean,
working.
there's a whole section in my first book, and there's 10 criteria for if you're ready for the transition, and one of them is, are we having fun yet? And you got to have fun, and if you're not having fun, none of their you're not going to accomplish your goal. I can promise you that. It may be a
Exactly.
short-term thing, but you're going to wear yourself out, or you're going to have some downside. If you can make it fun, then hopefully you'll want people to want to be at work and think this is where I want to be.
Awesome. Um, w- any last message or life lesson that you would like to share?
I just hope that everyone here, if nothing else, if you can just remember peaceful, positive, and purposeful, and be thinking about, even if you want to keep them as goals, if you can just make them fit those three things, and maybe remember every day, just to think those three things, even if you're not attaching to them to a wish, I think you'd be a lot happier. I think you're going to train your brain to be peaceful, positive, and purposeful.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that. I'm going to start like blowing out my candles differently from now on. But anyway,
Yeah, there you
um,
go.
Before I let you go, I got five quick rapid fire questions. Give me the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
You're stranded on a deserted island, one food to eat for the rest of your life, no consequence. You'll still be in shape, healthy, and fine. So what would that thing that you're gonna
Can
eat
I
be?
say like a poke bowl?
Oh yeah, I fully support that answer. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I don't even need the rice, but I love all the stuff that goes in it.
exactly. Hollywood calls and goes, "Hey, Brunel, we love your story. It's very inspirational. We would love to do a biopic of you. Who would you cast to play you?"
At what age?
You could pick all different ages and different actresses.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like trying to think who are the people at what age would it be? I guess everybody picks Meryl Streep, so I guess that's the easiest.
Awesome. Well, she shows up at your door and goes, "Hey, I got a cast to play you. Let's have some fun. Let's get to know each other." Oh, I'm hungry. And you go, "No problem, Meryl. Just come on in. I got the perfect dish prepared for you. What is that special dish that you can make?"
With what's in my refrigerator right now, I do this blend of riced cauliflower with black bean soup and like a creamy corn chowder thing, and I mix those together, and it's really good.
Sounds great.
And I can make that for you right now.
For some reason, you are a wrestler, and you're walking into the ring. But first, that intro music has to come in. So, what's that intro music that's playing before you walk onto the ring?
It's the line. It would start, and actually my ringtone is the line that starts in the song Uptown Funk, but it's "Don't Believe Me, Just Watch."
Ah, good choice.
It
And my
has like
last,
"Don't believe me, just watch." Boom.
and then there you are.
That's it.
Give me a number from 1 to 5.
Four
1, 2, 3, 4. So the word is clam. So if you have to use clam as a metaphor for success, how is success like a clam?
is to make sure you're always open.
Nicely done. So that's how success is like a clam. Thank you very much for your expertise, your stories, your like the ideas that you have given today has been absolutely amazing because I think a lot of people will look at wishes a little bit differently now and apply it differently. So thank you very much for that. Any final words from you?
Just thanks for having me, and just I hope everybody learns to make those wishes peaceful, positive, purposeful, and that they all come true.
Awesome. Thank you. So everybody make sure you connect with Brunel if you want to learn more about wishing and doing the program. Also, she has her books all out there, and also the podcast is out there, and her TEDx speech is coming out soon. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Much appreciate your time, your stories, and until next time, she's Brunel. I'm Fong. Today is the day to lock the peak potential. We'll see you later.
Thank you.